Fight, Joy Behar explodes on Meghan McCain during her first day back from maternity leave. This is the Next News Network at nextnewsnetwork.com. I'm Elijah. I'm the host of the show Slightly Offensive here on YouTube. I'm filling in for your host, Gary. Before we jump into the story, please hit that red button below to subscribe and turn on the bell to receive notifications. Our story comes from the Political Insider, who reports that Meghan McCain has only been back on The View for maternity for a couple of days. But the fireworks are already flying between her and her Liberal co-host. The View went off the rails on Tuesday morning when the super liberal Joy Behar told McCain that she did not miss her at all during the months the anti-Trump Republican was away on maternity leave following the birth of her child in September. Take a look.
Bernie Sanders also coming out saying he's angry. The idea that there isn't fighting in the Democratic Party as well. I think you're talking.
Right. I'm talking about somebody else.
You missed me so much when I was on maternity leave. You missed me so much. You missed fighting with me.
I did not. I did not miss you. Okay, somebody answer the question.
No, that's
moving
so
on.
nasty.
I'd like to weigh in.
So nasty.
Can I weigh in? Okay, guys,
rude.
Hold on. Stop. Everybody stop.
Well, I'll tell you this, during months that McCain was gone, there was no conservative voice on The View, leaving Behar and her fellow liberal co-hosts in an echo chamber of sorts that had them agreeing with each other on most things. Now, it seems that Behar got used to this, as she can no longer stomach having a dialogue with someone who has views that are different from hers. This is what you call liberal snowflake. Now, I have to say this is a greater picture of what's happening in our country, to where people are happy when they no longer have to listen to those they don't like. Take the
mob that stormed the Capitol are now under arrest. They are people who became infamous in photos and videos, and now they're facing federal charges. I want to go straight to CNN's Evan Perez. Evan, who has been arrested?
Anna, we have a national roundup happening right now, and among the arrests that the Justice Department has now announced is a man by the name of Adam Johnson. He was arrested back home in Florida, and we're expecting that he's going to be appearing in court here in Washington, D.C. Next week. But really, he's one of the ones that you see in those images. He's holding the lectern of the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. Another arrest is a man by the name of Jacob Chansley. He's the one that you see in some of these images with face paint and a sort of bearskin hat. Another one arrested is Derek Evans, who is a delegate from the House of Delegates in West Virginia. Just a flavor of some of the 17 or so arrests that the federal government, that the federal prosecutors have brought in federal court. There's another 40 or so that are facing charges in the municipal courts or the local courts here in Washington. We're told that this is a nationwide effort now, but really I just want to stop for a minute and despite the carnival atmosphere of some of these images that you're seeing, there is a more serious part of this, and that is, a lot more than the 5 deaths could have resulted from this mob scene. You had a man with a truck full of bombs that was parked outside one of the House buildings just right across the street from he left that truck to go attend the Trump rally, and then came back and was arrested as a result of that. A lot more that the federal another 40 or so that are facing charges in the municipal courts here in Washington. We're told that this is a nationwide effort now, but really I just want to stop for a minute and despite the carnival atmosphere of some of these images that you're seeing, there is a more serious part of this, and that is, a lot more than the 5 deaths could have resulted from this mob scene. You had a man with a truck full of bombs that was parked outside one of the House buildings just right across the street from the Capitol. He was essentially left that truck full of bombs to go attend the Trump rally, and then came back and was arrested as a result of that. A lot more serious consequences could have happened from this event.
many different adjectives have been used to describe the events and what we witnessed. So what are the charges specifically that they're facing? Because people have talked about domestic terrorism, sedition, insurrection. We've talked and used all of those words in the last several days. What are they facing in terms of charges?
Right, and that's fascinating. That's a great point. At this point, some of these charges range from entering a federal building without permission. Some of them are facing weapons charges, some of them broad weapons. At least one man came to Washington, said on text messages that he wanted to kill Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House. He was armed. Some of them had weapons on them. But a lot of these charges so far are a lot, essentially stealing materials from a federal building. These are the charges that are, again, this is just the beginning of this investigation.
I don't like this president of the United States. It's going to happen. I don't like it. I don't like it for a lot of reasons. Maybe primarily because I believe that he stole the thing with the help of Democrat operatives and the mainstream media, okay? I've seen some of the evidence, so have you, and also common sense tells us that the guy who ran this type of campaign, there's just no way that he got more votes than any presidential candidate in history. Primarily, I think it was the mail-in program, which Jimmy Carter, of all people, warned us was ripe for corruption. He did that about 15 years ago. So, any chance that Joe will grow into the role? Suddenly become an honest, upstanding guy? No, of course not. He's 78 years old. Who Joe Biden is has already been determined. Got caught lying in the most spectacular way back in 1987, and he's still at it. Just this afternoon, a press conference. Wow. Well, you tell me. Let's look at the massive contradictions. Here's what Joe said, and this is what Joe is supposed to be good at doing. Listen to this.
My overarching objective is to unify this country.
Unify this country. Well, that sounds great. Sounds great. But like politicians everywhere, that's all they do. Say things that sound great. Because right after that, well, I think he revealed himself again to be just another phony politician.
To hear some of my colleagues, Republican colleagues, talk about how shameful it is of the way Ted Cruz and others are dealing with this, how they're responsible as well for what happened.
Do you think some of them should resign? Should Senator Cruz or Senator Hawley resign?
I think they should be just flat beaten the next time they run. I think the American public has a real good, clear look at who they are. The acolytes that follow him, like Cruz and others, they are as responsible as he is. And so it's not about whether or not they get impeached. It's about whether or not they can continue to hold power because of the disgust the American people have for their actions.
We don't have disgust for their actions. You see that right after he says he wants to unify the country, he's calling out Ted Cruz, Hawley. Yeah, sure, the swamp may not like these guys, but tens of millions of Americans admire those people in Congress, in the House, and in the Senate who stood up. The Constitution, the Electoral Count Act of 1887, this is within the law, allow for this. But look at the contempt that Joe and other members of the swamp have. Oh, he mentioned impeachment. Guess what? According to his public comments, he's basically giving Nancy Pelosi the green light to impeach President Trump again. Now, Joe has wanted to be a powerful person his entire life, and he's going to let this hysterical woman, we all remember this moment, he's going to let her try to impeach the president. He should have come out and condemned the crazy idea. Quite frankly, I don't think it's possible, but if it is possible, it should be stopped. That's not going to unify the country. Not at all. Not at all. There's all this kind of stuff about the 25th Amendment. Nancy Pelosi, really? She's talking about the 25th Amendment, taking the president out before 2 weeks? Can you wait 2 weeks? Nancy, you're a joke. We know you're a joke. Joe, you have the power now to do something about this. So, I've been thinking about this. You know, if CNN...
In time. But if we give Donald Trump 8 years in the White House, he will forever and fundamentally alter the character of this nation.
Happy New Year to you. It's real. He'll be out of office on January 20th.
Yeah.
What's going through your mind? I've been looking at a lot of material from what happened on Capitol Hill, which is absolutely awful. It should never have happened. But did you see this? Take this photo. See these folks just walking right by the cops, who, for whatever reason, weren't stopping anybody. Can't really figure this one out. And there they go, right into the rotunda. What kind of instructions do they have? Forget about why they didn't plan better, why there wasn't a stronger perimeter, but just letting them walk on through. I don't understand.
And his willingness to fight all the way to the end. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for the 4 years of being involved and engaged from 2015, Greg, from the escalators. I've been with the president, and I still wholeheartedly support him. There's 75 million more folks just like me. I just fortunate enough to be on the Greg Kelly show to articulate that. But, you know, I know his spirits are up. I was on the phone with him last. The good, the bad, whatever. We're here. We're going to work this out no matter what happens. That's exactly what that means.
Okay, I can go with that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Bruce Lavelle, executive historian, Newsmax analyst, and we also have with us Doug Weed, also presidential historian. Welcome to you both, gentlemen. Your reaction to Twitter's decision to permanently ban the President of the United States. Craig?
And why I wasn't an economics major in college, but I studied a lot of economics, and why we didn't go after Facebook and Twitter on our antitrust. They're clearly monopolies, clearly in violation of antitrust laws, the same laws that were violated by Standard Oil.
Max, how you doing?
Great. This show has become so popular. You know, last time I was on, I picked up so many new Twitter followers.
Some indication that Apple is thinking about that. It's not confirmed yet that it might be banned from the App Store, so that would be bad.
So that's going on now. Yesterday, regular troops, not National Guard, regular troops were deployed in California, and I did post that on my website, simonpowles.org, and there are some troop movements. Yes, I know there are troop movements all over the place, it's regular, but this was part of this operation. Here's the exciting news. Well, it's all exciting, isn't it? But the Insurrection Act was signed last night. That is why I got the message, this is not a drill. So the Insurrection Act has been signed by the President. Do not expect President Trump to bother to go to Congress to be inaugurated. You American guys and lasses will know very well it's not the first time that a president has been inaugurated in the White House. And I'm expecting the president to be inaugurated in the White House.
He is a former general counsel for the Department of Homeland Security. John, I'm so glad to have you on here to dig in deeper on this, because we just heard former head of Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff, blame U.S. Capitol Police for intelligence failures. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Secretary Chernoff is exactly right. It doesn't take a rocket scientist at all to predict this. You have a group who has one objective in mind, and that is to stop the certification of Joe Biden. Marching down to the Capitol for that very reason. What's stunning to me is that you had such an absence of force. You didn't see those layers of security that you have this size of group coming with intention, very clearly stated intention to disrupt the certification of vote. In this biggest space to cover. The Capitol's obviously a significant area. There's thousands of officers, but you never saw that deployment of force that was necessary to deter people from even thinking this was possible. And that's where the failure lies.
We also heard a Democratic leader, Congressman John Clyburn, who told me that he believes that this attack was an inside job. I want to know what you make of that, and also what you think about Capitol Police officers who could be seen taking selfie with rioters. And in some videos, it looks as though there are officers who are not trying to stop that mob from getting in. Could there be a reason why the U.S. Capitol Police may have allowed rioters to breach the halls of Congress?
Well, I certainly hope not. Listen, I think the idea that there was somebody, certainly in the senior leadership ranks of Capitol Police, who intended for this to happen, who were, was an insider, so to speak. I strongly don't suspect that that's not accurate. Clearly, however, I think what is probably a more plausible explanation here is that there was a dramatic underassessment of the nature of the threat. And I do think you need to look at cultural bias towards the Capitol. There needs to be multiple layers like you would normally see at the State of the Union, for instance, or you would. Exactly what we saw, when President Trump went, frustration here for a lot of people is that they've done an excellent job of keeping things like this from happening and keeping the Capitol safe during State of the Union addresses, where you have the joint session of Congress and the President and the Vice President.
I got that.